Oshiagabo.
Good evening to you. I am Noble Crosby Added, and these are the headlines of the bulletin tonight.
News360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal, EcoBank.
Coming this evening, former Finance Minister Oforiatta secures U.S. permanent residency as lawyers challenge Ghana's charges. Meanwhile, the OSP insists his extradition remains possible.
And also coming up tonight, President John Mahama directs release of 100 million cedis to support operationalization of the Ghana National Research Fund for 2026.
Also, Kumasi waste collectors warn of sanitation crisis amid prolonged delays and operational challenges at Oti landfill.
Later in business news, Bank of Ghana raises red flag over forged land titles and fake collateral documents as it directs banks to tighten loan approval processes and sanction culpable staff.
Much later, bring you some international news as lead vaccine developed by University of Oxford and Moderna against Ebola strain could enter phase 1 clinical trials as early as July. Thank you so much for joining us on the bulletin tonight. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. You can join us there as we get interactive. Let's settle for the details.
In our very first story, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has secured a legal victory in the United States of America. This is after an immigration court approved his application for lawful permanent residency in a development that could complicate efforts by Ghana to secure his return to face multiple criminal charges. The decision was delivered on Monday, June 15, during proceedings in which the court considered Ofori-Atta's 1485 petition, the key application form in which the process of acquiring permanent resident status in the United States was done. According to his lawyer, Frank Davis, the court examined issues surrounding the criminal investigations and charges currently facing the former minister in Ghana, including the earlier declaration of Ofori-Atta as a fugitive from justice by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Ken Ofori-Atta faces multiple criminal allegations in Ghana linked to financial irregularities, including claims that a contract awarded to Strategic Mobilization Limited resulted in a loss of over 1.4 billion cedis to the state.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has said that it is taking note of reports that Kenneth Anaya Ofori-Atta has been granted permanent residency in the United States, resulting from an immigration court finding that it did not find the criminal charges filed by the OSP in Ghana against Ofori-Atta credible. The OSP states that it is not involved in immigration hearings in the United States involving Ken Ofori-Atta. Now, the OSP's involvement is in respect of extradition proceedings against Ofori-Atta through the Attorney General as the central authority. According to the OSP, the extradition packet is not before the immigration court, and the credibility or otherwise of the criminal charges against Ofori-Atta would be determined by the courts in Ghana, who have jurisdiction to determine his guilt or innocence. For more on this, let's touch base with private legal practitioner Martin Kwegu. Counsel, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening to you. Hello, Counsel, can you hear me?
Yeah, let me do the interview. Hello?
Good evening to you, Counsel.
Yes, evening. 1 second. Let me adjust my video. 1 second.
And as you do that, the question I would want to ask you is your initial reaction to news that the former finance minister has been given permanent USA residency and how it affects the ongoing case against him in the country?
Okay, I would say that I'm not that surprised. Not that surprised because, you see, this his path to a green card is a known and well-beaten path, a very well-known and well-beaten path. That's been it. I remember as far as the 2000s, early 2000s, when we started going to America, that was always the method. That maybe you go on a 6 months visa, or some cry, he's holding 5-year visa, he enters and then he doesn't come back. And within that period, he applies for a green card. That's either he marries or a parent has filed for him, etc., or a child. So it's a well-beaten path. The only thing that surprised me at a point was when the ICE detention came in. So when ICE detained him, actually I was surprised because overstaying a visa because they've applied for you is something Ghanaians have been doing in the US for decades. So long and short, this green card he's been given now is the norm. That's how it's a well-beaten path. It's not out of the ordinary.
What should the response of the nation's authorities be? And I'm talking about the OSP and the Attorney General in relation to the ongoing quest for him to be brought back into the country.
Yeah, so for the OSP, Kisi should be tearing his hair out, pulling more hair out of his hair and kicking himself in the butt for this unnecessary hardship he's unleashed on us as Ghanaians. I don't know whether he thought Ghana belongs to him, Ghana is in his pocket, or how he could have allowed Oforiatta to go without a fight. He allowed Oforiatta to go without a fight and came lying to Ghanaians. I have letters from NIB, that's BNI, and then National Security saying that he didn't come there to ask for any help to arrest Oforiatta.
But Counsel, Counsel, we know all of that, but as we speak, based on what he has won in the US, for instance, what more do we need to do? What are we doing going forward?
Yeah, so we can increase the pressure on the US authorities, and we have been making that point that, look, they should try and bring down Oforiatta. They should make sure that the extradition treaty or the extradition proceedings work. They should do that because, on social media, etc., Ghanaians are also making the point that until the US brings down Oforiatta, no more Ghanaians should be extradited to the US. So you see Abu Trika, that's Frederick Kumi, he's on bail. And that's nice. It's very sweet. We're praying that his co-conspirator, Daniel Yusuf, yes, whose bail application is coming on 22nd, he too, we pray that the court will grant him bail. They should rest because the US can't be playing these games with us, that we should keep extraditing our citizens to them, and yet when it comes to they extraditing our citizens to us, then they are playing hanky-panky, you see. So it's good that Ghanaians have become very wise and very alert to the situation at hand, saying that no more Ghanaians should be extradited until the US brings down Oforiatta to Ghana.
Amongst the things we've heard from the lawyers of Mr. Oforiatta is what they say that the former finance minister says the United States court, his lawyers say the United States court has found that the criminal charges against him in Ghana are not credible. Are you surprised at this statement?
Not too surprised. No, when I say not too surprised, myself, when I read some of the charges, you see, they weren't convincing enough. And also even, you see, the fact that we put him on Interpol red alert, okay, when we hadn't filed charges, etc. So it's been a comedy of errors. Look, even at the time he was declared a fugitive, there was no arrest warrant. It was after, and they admitted it on CTFM. There was no arrest warrant. It was when citizens started asking questions, then they quickly ran to court to go and get an arrest warrant. So this case against Oforiatta has been riddled with elementary mistakes from day one. It's been a comedy of errors. So if today the US authorities are saying that, I mean, you can't blame them. But we know that as for something going wrong, definitely Ken Oforiatta has done some things that are wrong. But as to how to put the case together, the OSP has been suffering from day one with a comedy of errors.
Counsel, thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Lawyer Martin Pigbo is a private legal practitioner speaking to us there. Let's do some more legal-related matters.
Yes, and we head to the court where Andy Apiakubi remains lead defense counsel for Chairman Wontumi in the Tanomiri Forest illegal mining case against the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman, despite withdrawing his services in the Samibor case. Cross-examination of the prosecution's second witness, the investigator, continued as the chief inspector informed the court that although Wontumi had not been cited at the forest reserve, he was allegedly behind illegal mining operations by Akwanta Mining in 4 compartments of the forest reserve. Lord Edwasari reports.
After having his application to withdraw as lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi thrown out by the High Court, Andy Apiakubi turned up on Tuesday as defense lawyer for the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman, albeit in another illegal mining case at a different court. Wontumi and his mining firm Akwanta are facing charges of felling of trees, unauthorized erecting of structures and abetments in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve in the Western region. The accused have pleaded not guilty. The prosecution's second witness, Chief Inspector Eugene Akwa Glover, an investigator in the case during cross-examination by the defense lawyers, indicated that he had never personally seen the NPP Ashanti chair at the concession before. He, however, maintained that investigations reveal that Wontumi directed the illegal mining operations of Akwanta in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve. The defense lawyer also challenged photographs of Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve taken by the investigative team, describing them as footage of Samra Boy, but the witness rebuffed the assertion. Lawyer Andy Apiakubi spoke after proceedings.
We went there, were confronted by armed men with first prosecution witness leading them, and that they managed to retrieve even ammunitions that security personnel had prior to the confrontation taken from legal miners on site. We asked whether they investigated the ownership of these ammunitions. The answer is no, they did not. We asked where the equipments are or the ammunitions are. They don't know.
The case has been adjourned to June 29 for continuation of the cross-examination of prosecution witness Lord Dwasari. TV News, Accra.
Let's talk some education now. And President John Dramani Mahama has directed the release of 100 million cedis to support the operationalization of the Ghana National Research Fund for 2026. Speaking at the official launch of the fund in Accra, President Mahama said the fund would help bridge the long-standing gap between research and commercial production, ensuring that innovations developed by researchers are scaled up for national development.
The Ghana National Research Fund was established under the Ghana National Research Fund Act 2020, Act 1056, to provide sustainable financing for research, innovation and technology development across sectors including science, technology, agriculture, health, the social sciences and the humanities. For years, research financing in Ghana has remained fragmented, unpredictable and heavily dependent on external sources. This has limited the scale, continuity and impact of national research efforts. For President Mahama, research demands a lot of investment.
Now, if you take the expanding GDP of Ghana, our GDP from 2024 was 88 billion. Now it's 114 billion. So take out your calculators and work the maths. 1% of 114 billion will give you a certain figure. And when you get that figure, even just divided by 2 to get 0.5. It means that we should be investing about 6 billion cedis every year in research. That is the target.
He announced a package that goes to give the fund steam.
I'm pleased to announce an immediate catalytic allocation of 100 million cedis to support the operational launch of the Ghana National Research Fund for 2026. And so I'm requesting the Ministry of Education in collaboration with the GET Fund and the Funds Governing Board to ensure the transparent, accountable, and resource-oriented deployment of these resources.
Education Minister Haruna Idrisu indicated that the government is taking steps to address concerns raised by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, over delays in the payment of book and research allowances.
President Mahama will not give UTAG an opportunity to go on strike. Therefore, your book and research allowance, I have a copy of the letter here signed by the Minister for Finance. What you may not be happy with is whether the exchange rate is the Bawumia rate or the John Mahama rate of the exchange rate.
Put your hands together.
In more news tonight, 2 key positions at the Electoral Commission of Ghana are opening up at the same time following the resignation of the Deputy Chairperson in charge of Corporate Affairs, Dr. Bosman Asare, and the retirement of the Deputy Chairperson in charge of Operations, Samuel Tete, while the law gives the President power to appoint replacements on the advice of the Council of State. The political question is whether the process will build trust or deepen suspicion around the election management body. A report by Noble Crosby-Annan.
The exits of Dr. Bosman Asare and Samuel Tete from the Electoral Commission are more than routine staff changes. They come at the level of deputy chairpersons, the 2 officers who sit directly below the EC chairperson and support the administration, communication, logistics and operational management of elections. Dr. Bosman Asare, who was in charge of corporate affairs, has resigned effective July 31, with government explaining that he intends to return to academia at the University of Ghana. Samuel Tete, who served as deputy chairperson in charge of operations, has also proceeded on retirement after attaining the compulsory retirement age of 65. Together, their exits create a major transition at the top of the commission. Their replacement is not only legal, it is also deeply political. The appointments to the commission are often judged not only by qualification, but by neutrality, credibility, and public confidence. The 2018 appointment of Dr. Bosman Asare and Samuel Tete itself came after the removal of then EC chairperson Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies. Samuel Tete had been a long-time staff of the EC, serving across regions before being appointed to the national headquarters. At the time, sections of the position raised concerns about perceived political leanings of Dr. Bosman Asare and the lack of broader consultation. That history is now returning to the center of the conversation. Dr. Kojo Asante is Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Ghana Center for Democratic Development.
Because of the sensitivity of the position, the fact that the president has discretion does not mean that the president should not consult widely to make sure that whoever is there has the support of the broad sway of stakeholders and society. We should, act in good faith, find people who are competent, who have the right integrity, experience to be able to do this job, but also have the broad support of, as I said, broad array of stakeholders so that we can reduce this acrimony and partisanship that normally accompanies the work of the Electoral Commission.
The immediate question is, who replaces the 2 deputy chairpersons?
We are looking for somebody who's an expert, deep knowledge of election administration, law or data or IT, public administration, or somebody who is not linked to just political loyalty.
Get people who are transformative enough. Transformation in the sense that they should be individuals who will prioritize transparency, people who prioritize accountability, and people who prioritize innovation. Because election management is moving from the traditional way where we do things manually to a more innovative atmosphere.
But finding the right persons may not be easy. A nominee may be technically competent, but politically difficult.
It is important that in good governance you prioritize impartiality so that the trust that people want to see in that independent organization will be realized at the end of the day.
The opposition may not have a constitutional veto over who becomes deputy EC chairperson, But consultation could help prevent another round of suspicion around the commission.
Even though it is on the advice of the Council of State and all of that, the president should go beyond and engage other stakeholders, even including the opposition, so that we don't keep damaging these institutions. Every election, every change in government, somebody is seeking to disrupt the setup of these institutions.
Consultation is very key. We have to avoid nominees who have recent partisan role, and that is why consultation is very important. I don't think it is out of order to consult the MPP as well.
It is a moment that could either strengthen confidence in the referee or reopen old questions about political control of election management in Ghana. The issue now is not just who is qualified to sit at the Electoral Commission. The bigger question is who can be trusted by all sides when the next major electoral contest begins.
Let's take you to the Ashanti region now, where tricycle waste collectors in Kumasi have staged a protest over what they describe as unbearable delays at the Oti landfill site. The collectors say the breakdown of bulldozers used to manage waste at the facility has forced them to spend several hours in queues before they can dispose of refuse. They warn the situation is affecting their livelihoods and could pose a serious threat to sanitation in the city if urgent action is not taken. Ibrahim Ubaka has more in this report.
Here in Kumasi and its surrounding communities, tricycle waste collectors play a vital role in keeping the city clean. Every day, they move from house to house and shop to shop, collecting refuse and transporting it to the Oti landfill site for disposal. But what should ordinarily be a quick and routine process has become a major challenge. The collectors say the breakdown of bulldozers used to compact and level waste at the landfill has slowed operations, resulting in long queues and delays. According to the collectors, instead of the usual 20 minutes, they now spend several hours and in some cases almost an entire day waiting for their turn to dump waste.
And I do 1, 2, 12, ni na ejinem. And the problem now na and the platform now mu ye no. Omu ye wiye and in so so to yentimi nko. And na ma queue no e ba bebre sa no. And na ma e pre be a hwe bola no.
The prolonged delays means many of them are unable to make multiple trips each day, leading to reduced income and increased operational costs. The protesters are therefore demanding immediate intervention from city authorities to restore normal operations at the landfill site.
The machine that they are using at the landfill site is almost old machines. And only one who told you that the machine that we are facing, we are using at the landfill site, that machine can help us to solve the sanitation problem in the Ashanti region is telling lies.
We need the government to step in. The mayor came in here, no results. He gave them 10 days ultimatum. Yes, still no results. As we are saying, joke on joke, today no Aboboya is going to sleep on landfill here. We are going to offload wherever we are parked. We are going to offload.
The collectors warn that if the problem persists, it could undermine effort to maintain sanitation standards in Kumasi. City authorities, however, say the situation stems from a bigger challenge facing the landfill.
As at now, the place is full. It ought to have been closed by 2019. So we have gone beyond its capacity and its lifespan by 6 years. And so I sympathize with the people of Uti. What we are taking them through, it's not fair. We're only pleading with them that we have not forgotten about them. We are working so hard around the clock to make sure that we find a solution, we locate it, and then we can bring some sanity to the place.
For now, the tricycle waste collectors say they will continue to engage city authorities, hoping for a swift resolution to a situation that they say threatens both their livelihoods and the cleanliness of Ghana's second largest city. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
Away from the Ashanti region, all 22 seismic centers across the country are being upgraded with a budgetary allocation of 28 million cedis. That's according to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa. And should there be any earthquake risk, Ghana will now be able to transmit real-time data while strengthening the nation's resilience against natural disasters.
Ghana's seismic vulnerability is evident, particularly in the Greater Accra and Eastern regions, making seismic preparedness a matter of national importance. Recent earth tremors recorded between 2018 and 2023, including events measuring up to 4.2 on the Richter scale, indicate that seismic risks remain real and require urgent attention rather than being treated as a distant scientific concern. The National Seismic Monitoring Network has been upgraded since 2015 to transmit real-time data on potential earthquake risk. According to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, this marks a significant milestone in Ghana's efforts to ensuring public safety.
Ghana's seismic vulnerability has implications far beyond geology, intersecting with urban governance, infrastructure planning, and national security. Accra, home to more than 4 million people and the nation's administrative and economic hub, is also the country's most seismically active area. Rapid urbanization, informal settlements, and weak enforcement of planning regulations could magnify the impact of any major earthquake.
He also stated that all 22 seismic centers across the country will be upgraded.
We are developing a draft earthquake monitoring and seismic investigation legislative instrument, which will be sent to Parliament very, very soon. The proposed regulations will establish standards for seismic monitoring, investigations, data management, reporting, quality assurance, and monitor of induced and triggered seismicity.
A seismic monitoring network detects, measures, and records vibrations in the earth's crust using sensors to track natural events such as earthquakes and volcanic activity, as well as human-induced occurrences like mining blasts and nuclear explosions.
Now, the fight against illegal mining is taking a new turn, with efforts now focused not only on stopping the destruction, but also restoring damaged lands. The Ghana Gold Board has signed an agreement with the Forestry Commission to reclaim 50 hectares of the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve, one of the reserves heavily affected by illegal mining activities.
At the signing ceremony in Accra, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, said the project forms part of a national reclamation and environmental restoration program initiated by the board. According to him, the project will begin with the reclamation of 50 hectares, which would include pit filling, grading, land reshaping, compaction, and site stabilization.
The total degraded area, we are told, is about 200 hectares, and we are starting 50 hectares. This agreement that we are about to sign, which you're here to witness, is supposed to take effect on the seat day of July 2026, by which time we would have received a detailed work plan from the Ministry of Defense and would have approved same and would have made the initial payment to enable the engineers, regiments of the Ghana Armed Forces mobilized to start the works.
The civil engineering works will be carried out by the Ghana Armed Forces at a cost of about 27.9 million Ghana cedis. The Forestry Commission will undertake the afforestation component, which involves restoring vegetation cover and is expected to cost 7.2 million Ghana cedis over a 10-year period. The total cost of the project is estimated at about 35 million Ghana cedis. Deputy Minister for Defense, Broja Jemfi, assured the public that the Ghana Armed Forces would execute the project with professionalism, integrity, and strict adherence to standards.
There is the preventive aspect and also the restoration aspect. When you overemphasize on the preventive, you only prevent further degradation. The Ghana Armed Forces, men and women, are well aware that there are standards, there are regulations, that anything that is done untoward will be punished. And so they are guided.
Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Hugh Brown, revealed that surveys conducted up to the end of 2024 identified nearly 8,700 hectares of forest reserves that had been degraded by illegal mining activities.
In the past, we've had significant challenges where private sector has been given permission to do reclamation. We know that the military has the technical expertise. They have a large batch of engineers. And I believe that we must make use of that.
He also commended Gold Board for its swift response to calls for support.
You're watching News 360. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're going for a break. When we come back, we have more stories for you. Don't go away.
I love President Charcoal. Why? When there are so many other
around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now. In a world full of noise, Clarity matters. Stories shape us. Ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmini.
Falsified ownership documents being used to secure bank loans. Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama warns that the practice threatens loan recovery efforts, weakens bank balance sheets, and undermines public confidence in the financial system.
At the 130th Post-Monetary Policy Committee engagement with heads of banks, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama disclosed that the central bank's supervisory work has uncovered cases where properties were pledged as collateral without the knowledge of their legitimate owners, while ownership documents and consent letters were forged to support credit applications. He urged banks to strengthen due diligence, enforce stricter verification procedures for third-party collateral, and take disciplinary action against any staff found to have facilitated such fraudulent transactions.
Ownership documents have been forged and consent letters have been falsified. The implications are very severe. When collateral cannot be legally enforced, when loan recoveries are compromised, when balance sheets are weakened, and when public confidence is undermined, these are very important issues. I therefore urge all CEOs gathered here, you have to act decisively.
Dr. Isiama says the Bank of Ghana will continue to work with banks to strengthen risk management practices and safeguard confidence in the financial system.
The challenge before us is not just to preserve stability, but to transform stability into prosperity for our people. Let us therefore leverage this stability and work together to channel capital into productive sectors.
Meanwhile, the central bank governor said the time has come for financial institutions to move beyond traditional lending and play a more active role in supporting entrepreneurship, exports, and productive investment across the country.
The world's two largest cocoa producers are moving from a defensive stance to actively shaping the global chocolate market. The 7th Steering Committee meeting of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative held in Abidjan, Ghana's Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Toforson, called for a fundamental strategic transformation of the industry to secure a fairer share of the global value chain.
Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire control nearly 2/3 of the global raw cocoa supply. Despite this massive market dominance, both economies have historically captured only a tiny fraction of the billions of dollars generated by multinational chocolate brands and processors. Ghana's Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Toforson, emphasized that deeper systematic policy coordination between Accra and Abidjan is no longer optional. It is a macroeconomic necessity to safeguard their respective nations against severe price volatility and production shocks. The reform agenda explicitly targets long-term supply threats, including devastating disease outbreaks like swollen shoots, severe climate disruptions, and the localized damage of illegal mining on fertile land. Leaders from both sides are pushing to move aggressively past raw bean exports into localized processing, stricter price harmonization, and unified bargaining positions. To solidify this strategic economic alliance, Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama and Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara are slated to hold a high-level summit to lock in the political weight required to enforce these regional agricultural changes.
Now, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is calling for governments and development partners to develop credible climate investment plans as the economic impact of climate change becomes increasingly evident across the continent. Speaking at a policy discourse on the economic implications of climate change and carbon finance in Ghana and Nigeria, Executive Director of ACEP, Benjamin Boakye, said African countries can no longer afford to treat climate change as a future challenge.
Benjamin Boakye said changing weather patterns and recurring floods are already disrupting livelihoods and economic activity across the continent, placing additional pressure on economies that contribute relatively little to global emissions. According to him, recent flooding in parts of Ghana, including Accra, as well as shifts in rain patterns, underscored a growing vulnerability of African countries to climate-related shocks. He called for stronger environmental action and increased investment in climate adaptation and resilience measures to help economies better withstand the effects of climate change.
We may not be contributing much to the climate change, but the change is actually impacting our economy much more than it may be doing in other parts of the world. And that is a call to duty for us to enforce action and also call on others to be responsible for their action on the environment.
Vice Chairman of Nigeria's Senate Committee on National Planning and Economic Affairs, Senator Austin Akubundu, says climate financing will be critical to helping African countries confront the growing challenges posed by climate change.
Any program, any activity that reduces greenhouse emission automatically engenders and promotes carbon financing.
Deputy Director for Nuclear and Alternative Energy at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Robert Sogbaji, also underscored the need for greater regional collaboration. He said African countries must pool resources and strengthen partnerships to support a greener transition while reducing emissions and promoting sustainable development.
If countries come together through the African Continental Free Trade Area to provide funding to do such projects, this will make sure that we go clean, we go economically efficient, and we will be able to also eradicate energy poverty in the continent or in the sub-region of Africa.
Let's bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. Business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next, the sports.
The world around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German Embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now. In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abinanya Kwasmini, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed.
And have turned to one of African football's most recognizable figures, Hervé Renard. The decision comes barely 5 months after Lamouchi's appointment, with the former Ivory Coast boss winning just one of his 5 matches in charge before the World Cup disaster proved too much for the Tunisian Football Federation. Renard arrives with a reputation for miracles. The Frenchman won the African Cup of Nations with both Zambia and Ivory Coast, guided Morocco to the 2018 World Cup, and famously led Saudi Arabia to a stunning victory over Argentina at Qatar 2022. Tunisia now hope Renard can rescue their campaign before crucial group stage clashes against Japan and the Netherlands. The Eagles of Carthage are down, but with Hervé Renard on the touchline, Tunisia are betting that one of football's greatest firefighters can spark a World Cup comeback.
That was a report on Hervé Renard joining the Tunisian national team. We'll take a look at the fixtures for today in the 2026 World Cup. Of course, France will be facing Senegal later tonight at 7 p.m. and it will be live on TV3 with build-up starting at 6 p.m. Iraq will face Norway and Argentina will be facing Algeria. And that's it for the sports segment here on News360. My name is Bill Ishen.
around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all. Because the time for Ghana to act is now. In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kwasmeni, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Around us is changing, not slowly, not quietly. In the north, the rains that once arrived on time don't come anymore. In the middle belt, rivers and forests disappearing overnight. Along the coast, the sea is swallowing land that families have called home for generations. Rising temperatures, failed harvests, homes lost to tides. This is not a warning about tomorrow. This is the world right now. TV3 and the German embassy in Ghana. The conversation on climate security implications in Ghana. The Climate Talks 2026. 5 cities, 5 conversations, 1 urgent call to action. Tamale, Bolgatanga, Kumasi, Keta, Accra. Starting this June 2026. The climate talks are coming, and this time, the people most affected by Ghana's climate security crisis will be at the center of it all.
Innovations Richard Hatchett. The accelerated timeline reflects the urgent need to contain an outbreak for which no licensed vaccine currently exists.
Still in international news, Nigeria's military say it has rescued the widow of a retired general who himself had died at the weekend while being held by kidnappers. Major General Abubakar and his wife Amina were abducted in the northwestern state at the end of last month. A statement added the military said the kidnappers shot Mrs. Abubakar during the rescue operation before fleeing. As troops advanced, she is now being treated in a military hospital. One of the couple's daughters confirmed the rescue on water, posting, "We are deeply grateful to Allah for His mercies and protection. Our mommy has been rescued from the hands of evil by the Nigerian army." Well, that's our package for you this evening. But of course, there's more news on our website, 3news.com. Please log on for more. I am Noble Crosby Annan.
And I am Portia Gabo. Up next will be the pre-match discussions with a game between France and Senegal at 7 p.m. Good evening.